Now, the ANC's NEC is expected to map its way forward on coalitions ahead of the 2024 national elections. The governing party is facing arguably the toughest election since the dawn of democracy. Some observers predict the party might not retain the majority to enable it to form a government without other parties. Joining us for this discussion is Professor Jaap de Visser from the Dullah Omar Institute. And before we start that conversation with you, Prof, I want our viewers to take a listen to what the ANC's Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, said about their relationship as the ANC with the EFF at local government.
We look at what is strategic for the ANC. What we want out of these coalitions is stability. That is one, to run local government. But equally, we want to work with people who are going to advance the interest of our people on the ground. And if the EFF agrees to work with us on that agenda, the ANC will be amenable to work with the EFF to ensure that we bring services to our people and there is stability on the ground.
So, Prof, thank you so much for making time for us. That's what Fikile Mbalula had to say earlier today addressing the media. What do you think the ANC NEC needs to prioritize as it meets over the next couple of days when they are having discussions about local government and the kind of arrangements they need to start thinking about when it comes to coalitions?
Yeah, thanks, Clemens, and it's good to be with you. So I think that a distinction needs to be made between, what should be the preparations on coalitions for the 2024 elections, and how should each political party, reflect on it, because obviously every political party will go into elections, gunning for the best. Even the UDM will say they are gunning for an absolute majority, but they must start thinking about, in the off chance that they do not get an absolute majority, how do they view coalitions and which are the partners that they could possibly engage with? And that's a bit of a split personality issue for each political party, but that's part of living in a society or an electoral system that actually relies on coalitions. So the ANC is going to have to reflect on that. And I think the other point that needs to be part of the ANC's discussions, in my view at least, is how to also look at some measures that need to be taken to actually increase stability in coalition governance. Because we obviously have to rely on the maturity of political parties to manage coalitions in the interest of residents. But what we see in local government at the moment does not inspire confidence. And if we see that, if that's going to be repeated at national level, I think we shudder to think what that's going to mean.
Yeah.
And we need to look also at our legal framework to see what kind of changes do we need to make it more stable.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some of those measures and the legal framework that may help in stabilizing coalitions, even at local government right now. I want to ask you, from your assessment, when you look at the relationship that the ANC has had with the EFF, from what we have seen over the last couple of months, is that something that could be solidified? I mean, the ANC and EFF have taken this posture of allowing the smaller parties to take up the positions of mayor in the metros where they work together, and one wonders what form this kind of relationship is going to take at national level. There have been lots of agreements at local government. Initially, they said, okay, we will divide positions between the speaker and mayor and also share the MMC positions, but it looks like they never really got to agree on those terms, hence the decision to let's allow the mayor and even the speaker in some instances to be from a smaller party, and we just split the MMC position. So from that assessment of their relationship at local government, is it promising?
I think, let me give them the benefit of the doubt, and it is promising that those discussions are deepening, because what we've seen so far is really not good at all. And I'm not a political scientist. I'm a lawyer, so I'm not going to do too much political analysis because I'm not good at that. But what I can say is that the the smaller parties, to use that, awful term,
Yeah.
but the smaller parties have the bigger parties by the short and curlies. Because the smaller parties are walking away with the big positions, because the bigger parties somehow seem to be unable to find each other in pragmatic coalitions, and then hand power to one man or one woman political parties. And that really is something that you cannot regulate away. But I think we need to develop a political tradition where that really is not good, because it's a betrayal of the voters. The voters did not vote for this. We all look at this and we think, what happened now? That's something that needs to change. And for that we need to see a deepening of conversation between bigger parties.
Yeah, and I guess the reluctance of these dominant political parties to work together hasn't really helped. What needs to be done then, Prof? There are those who argue that the solution to the coalition crisis is not a legal one, right? It's not possible to particularly legislate political behavior or force political parties into stable coalitions. But I imagine there's a difference the law can make. So what difference will, for instance, changing the municipal structures bill make in strengthening coalition governments? Because that's what's being considered now.
Yeah, so I completely agree that the change that the law can make is minimal. It really is. It's not a solution in itself to change the law. But there are certain things that we can do. We cannot regulate political behavior. We cannot regulate that political parties must vote in a particular way. Clearly, that's not possible. But what we can do is remove some of those elements that have really proven to be a fertile ground for instability. Now, for example, we need to seriously consider introducing electoral thresholds, where we reduce the number of political parties that make it into the council, so that you need to obtain a certain minimum percentage of the vote before you actually are entitled to a seat. At the moment, it is what I call an Oprah Winfrey system. Everybody is getting some. We are one of the few countries in the world. I think only the Netherlands and Israel have the same system where there are no thresholds. So it would be quite unusual to keep doing it like that. I think we need to introduce electoral thresholds. The other thing that we need to look at is limiting the number of motions of no confidence. It's absolutely abysmal in local government at the moment, where every other week there's a motion of no confidence, and however the chips fall that week, there's another motion of no confidence. It's very, very disruptive. And there are ways and means to limit the number of motions of no confidence that may legitimately be tabled, so that we don't tumble over one another every week with another motion of no confidence. There's various ways of doing that, and I think that's possible. The other area that we need to look at is the secrecy of the election of office bearers. It's in the law that the election of office bearers at local government is done in secret with a secret ballot. It's even in our constitution for the election of the president, and I think that needs to be reconsidered. There's no great democratic principle served by having public representatives who are already been elected on a mandate to say you must now exercise that mandate in secret, because it's a fertile ground for shenanigans and backroom dealings. And I think we as the public and as voters are entitled to see and to know what are these public representatives doing with the mandate that we have entrusted them. So those are a few ideas, together with the notion that we need to, and this is perhaps something that we can do in the law, we can force coalition partners to publish the coalition agreements. Tell the voters, tell the public what have you agreed upon, so that we can see what the commitments are, and perhaps you will walk away from it a little bit less easily compared to what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, well, Prof, thank you so much for making time for us and for taking us through some of the options that may be available for the ANC, NEC to consider as they meet. Already there is the municipal structures bill that's before Parliament, which is containing some of the changes that may help in stabilizing the coalitions at local governments.